you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Hang him from the yard.
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your captain, Jimbob Ovalshorts. And tonight we have a very special guest who has got some ridiculously amazing information to share with us, you guys. When I found the fella, I thought this was going to be a conversation about like conspiracy stuff and current events and whatnot, but it turned into something completely different. And this fella is here tonight to educate us on food forests and, the promise of a tomorrow where no one's hungry. This is one of the best ideas I think I have ever heard since we started this show. Like, this is right up here with Julian and his turning plastic into gas, man. And this is some of the most, it's just in-depth conversation, man. This Jonathan is such a super, super nice guy, on top of being definitely one of the more intelligent beings I've met here on the face of this planet. So I'm looking forward to sharing this conversation with you guys. Luis is going to be at the helm with me this evening, and we're going to get deep into this thing, man. Like, there's a lot of good stuff here, so I promise there will be plenty and plenty of links for you to get back to so that you can find out more of what Jonathan's talking about, find some more Jonathan, and maybe educate yourself and see if you want to help spread the food forests around the world, man. Golly, I'm so inspired with this conversation. I really, really can't wait for you guys to check it out. So, but of course, anything we do talk about on this episode or anything like that, you guys know you can find it back at everyone's favorite website online, unconstitutionalawakening.com. Your home for everything else, man. There's all kinds of great things going on there. You can sign up and hang out on the social. You can check out on our hosts. You can go to the podcast and more section and find all kinds of great, cool things to check out, from information from Bandit about urban gardening to some of the deepest conspiracies with Kel and things that make you think with not only me over there on the Red Pill Project, but even Caitlin, man. She's always putting up some good stuff too. All kinds of great stuff, you guys. So I really encourage you to go check it out while you're hanging out over there, man. You can also check out places to watch us if all you do is listen, and listen if all you do is watch us, man. I make sure I got this stuff hooked up for you guys. I know what I like to see on a website, so I figured I'd do the same thing for y'all, man. You can listen to us while you're hanging out on the website, or while you're over there digging through that merch store, getting you some sweet UA merch, man. Everything from t-shirts to stickers to banners, man. There's all kinds of cool things. Go over there and find yourself something nice, man. Show us some more support, because we definitely appreciate it. We also appreciate all the love you guys are giving in the comment section over there on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, even over there on all the podcast streaming apps, you guys. We are still climbing day in and day out to higher views, and it's all possible because of y'all. So thank you. Thank you so much. You guys rock. You can also give a check out to our friends in Liberty, man. Kirk Elliott, PhD, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, as well as Pure Pet Wellness, man. All these guys offering great alternatives from the status quo and stuff. And hey, man, Like I said, you can find us on social media over there. You can also find us as a whole in places now like Facebook at Captain Conspiracy and the Freedom Pirates and Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast on Twitter as well as Instagram. Always sharing some good stuff over there for you guys to laugh at and, help get you through your day with memes and stuff like that. So y'all make sure y'all hop on there and check that on out if you don't mind. So I'm gonna quit running my mouth, man. I'm really excited to introduce Jonathan to you guys. So let's go on and weigh anchor on this guy. And so, you guys, as I was saying in the opening there, Jonathan right here has joined us this evening, and Luis is in here with me. There's no telling who might else join in. I believe even Canadian John has the invite for tonight. But we were chatting about AI and just everything going on with that, and it's kind of led into what you were getting into there. And I really figured you'd like to share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have come up with what. I haven't come up with anything. I'm because again, nothing new under the sun. This has all been done before. This is just a realization of an idea whose time has come. That's all this is, and it's very simple. You're going to be like, well, yeah, but you'll have to kind of hear me out through the whole idea of it. And so, I mean, if we're talking about solutions to problems, okay, that's what we're talking about here. So we're going to build the future. That's what if you were to ask me, well, what is this thing that you're creating? I'm creating a cooperative community organization. Okay, so that could fall under, it's probably going to end up becoming something like what is it, a PMA? It's called it's like an LLC, but it doesn't have anything to do with the government. It's
like similar to a trust that
right.
It's self-governing to a degree.
You know more about it than me then, sure. And it was just recommended to me by the person that I got my idea from, actually. So what my idea is to grow food forests, okay? And I'm actually currently building one in my yard now. And so my idea is to, well, at least where I'm at, so I'm kind of bounce around here and trying to figure out my bearings on the best way to explain this. The idea of creating community is what I want to do, okay? So I'm building the future. That's like my motto. The idea of what I'm really doing is we're creating the future. And so it's really easy for everybody to get on board with that, because as we can see clearly across the board, all of our faculties that we've created as a society are failing us. And in the last 3 years, they've really been put to a stress test. And we realize that we have a very fragile system that can fall apart at about any second. And so to rely specifically for your food upon such a system is just ridiculous. And so the idea of food forestry is grow food and grow lots of it instead of yards. Okay, now that's really kind of the boiled down, after it's been realized by everybody, the concept here. Why would you want to go to the grocery store to get food that says it's organic, but is it? And most of the stuff they've tested nowadays, I mean, it's a crapshoot. So it's organic when you grew it, and it's literally right outside the back door. And again, I'm not talking about having a garden. I mean, obviously you would have a garden as well, but this is food forestry, so this is permaculture on an extremely high level. Like, so I personally purchased a food forest, if you will, a plan from Food Forest Abundance. Now I'm calling my project Food Forest Freedom. It's a direct ripoff of Food Forest Abundance, and I told Jim Gale when I spoke to him earlier, I was like, "You're my inspiration for doing all this anyway." So like, I'm basically just I'm not trying to reinvent anything. I'm literally bringing his concept to my town, and I think with what I'm talking about is it's doable for everybody, even if you don't get jazzed on the idea of food forestry, which I highly suggest you do, and I'll explain why. But the idea is to bring something to your local community. That's how we win this. That's the solution. Okay, so the boiled down, the short and skinny of it is you need to do something in your own community. And I've been hearing that for a long time, and I just didn't know. I'm like, well, but what, dude? Because I'm certainly not getting into politics. That's not me. It's just not. So I'm like, well, that ain't it. And then this hit me last summer, and the concept came to like, I better turn my yard into a food forest. I have a half acre on a golf course that is my grandparents' retirement home that was passed down to my mom, and I'm now taking care of her with Alzheimer's / dementia. So this is all going to be mine soon. And you can't imagine what a duck out of water or a fish out of, however you want, whatever phrase you want to say. I don't fit in around here. You know, this is not, I didn't do this. This is my grandparents doing, and now I'm inheriting it. So it's,
Could you tell us what region are you in? So to understand the weather?
I'm in South Carolina.
Oh,
You're not far from me then.
So it's
pretty moderate weather. So it's actually pretty great weather. Great place to grow crops, honestly.
It is. And the place that I am learning all this from is in Galt's Landing, Florida.
Okay.
And it's a 52-acre food forest that you can just, if you look up Food Forest Abundance on YouTube and then just check out some of the videos, it's mind-blowing what they've done. They've actually created an entirely self-sustaining community, off the grid completely. Not a commune by any means. It's really just a couple people living out there. There's a lot of people that work out there, but they go home and do their thing. So it's not really a commune, but it is the idea of here's how to live free.
I call it an intentional community.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
It's
not like that though. It's not like there's a whole bunch of people wandering around on all these acreage living.
Yeah.
It's really just, and it could be. I have nothing against it.
This
doesn't happen to be that.
Me and Bandit, who I do hope joins us at some point this evening, have actually tossed the idea back and forth between each other on since we were both looking for the larger plot of land, like, well, why don't we do it together? Because two sets of hands are better than one when it comes to doing a lot of things. Mm-hmm. You know, and we both already have, you know, families and stuff, but like this, we've grown pretty close, and you know, we've been toying some ideas and stuff back and forth because we have the same. Like, we want the same outcome in life. We'd rather be in our food forest with the rest of our farm animals and such while the world crumbles around us, and it's okay because we're just enjoying our peace and our land. Like, it is what it is. Like, I know that sounds terrible, but like, I mean, you know, I really think the idea of building smaller communities and building into the whole idea, you know, I hear that a lot too. And I've been pretty inspired, especially after yesterday talking to these guys over in the pirate party. And I'm by no means at all into any political thing either, but these guys actually answered. This fella answered the questions better than any politician has ever answered the questions, because he's not a politician. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. He didn't
spin. He didn't spin.
Yeah, he didn't spin nothing. Right. You know, and he kept drilling in community and community, your community. And I think something like this, like, just in the short time that you've already been going on about it, like, I'm like, whoa, like, it almost, in a way, from my perspective, goes hand in hand, because it's just like, this is one of those things you could come at your community with and really make a difference, especially if you're in, like me, I'm down in Georgia, so I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Far. You're not far though.
I'm in the middle of nowhere out here, like, just in the boonies, but it's a small strip town, you know. It's definitely under 100,000 and stuff like that, you know. And it's just, I could see something like this benefiting an area like this, because they literally have one grocery store. Yeah. Like, it's that small of a town, so there's only one choice to get your stuff unless you want to go a town or two over. And I love this. I do want you to keep going. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, and that's why he named his company Jim Gale, the guy that really, I mean, he just had this idea and ran with it. I mean, the idea is there.
I have their website pulled up, yeah.
But it's just, this is the idea, the time has come for it, and it's damn, I just
You're okay.
Still there? Oh, okay. Yep. Sharing the screen. Cool. Yeah, I brain farted on what I was going to say right then anyway, so that's okay. I really did. I was like, oh no, I forgot what I was going to say.
What's your overall strategy in relationship to what crops? What are the main choices of crops? Because, you know, there's a mixed dynamic when it comes to crops. There is crops that you farm first and then you switch because of the depletion of soil resources. Like, there's a lot of extra details that come with farming that most people don't really think about, that that it's for sustainability, because you can farm something once and it be done, but the sustainable element is you have this crop and then you move it and then it complements each other. So do you have a pre-selected construct of, okay, these are the ones we can really work with to start with and then evolve exponentially from there?
Yes. So absolutely. And yeah, you will. It's so this is a permaculture. This is permaculture. So it's not farming, and it's not gardening. So it's hard to maybe really make that clear distinction. I have to say it a few times, because even to my neighbors, they were like, "Oh, so you're making a food forest?" They're like, "We're not going to be looking at corn, are we?" It's like, okay, so no. The idea of food forestry is the it's paramount is sustainability. Like the reason for it is sustainability, and one of the things that it starts with is soil. Okay, and most people don't even consider, but there's more life in the first 2 inches around the whole planet than there is everywhere above it.
Yes.
Okay, so so keeping that balance and keeping that alive and keeping that healthy, that's really truly what food forestry is about, because you can't start. And once you have a food forest going, this is the answer really to your question that you were getting at, is you don't do anything. You get out of the way. All you do is get your food out of there, because it's going to rot. I mean, seriously, that's why I can't stress enough to check out Jim's stuff that he's posted online, because it's like he started from sand. He bought a 26-acre lot of sand, and in a year and a half had turned it into literally a paradise forest, and bought another 26 acres next to it, and is now doing that. So it's just a compound of food growing. And just him walking around and doing a 3-minute video of, these trees here that they just did maybe 3 months ago, and look at them now type stuff. And then he films all that stuff that's there. He's like, we didn't plant this. This is new. This popped up on its own. It's just the number of stuff. And again, he's in Florida, and their intention was to bring in and make it like a tropical forest type thing. So That's happening more. Mine is more of a golf course-esque landscaped plan with nothing but edible and medicinal foods.
But you're proving you can do it on, a smaller plot. Like you could take this idea and it really grow inside of your neighborhood alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, after people see what it is and they're like, hey, can you help me set mine up and stuff? This is something worth growing. And so if you end up having that whole neighborhood turned into a food forest, this is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
because not everybody's going to grow the same thing.
No, so exactly.
You've got a gigantic open farmers market, and imagine the community that gets created. Just imagine how everybody knows everybody. Everybody's got everybody's back. Everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're whatever you have the abundance of, you're trading off with everybody else and like barter and stuff. Me and I'm always joking about beans and bullets, and this is right along that same source. If you have something that you can produce a lot of, like I'm really, really into goats, like so much into goats that I've learned how goat milk is, actually closer to human milk than any other milk that's out there. And it's really good for you. That's why it's super overpriced and hard, and there's so many regulations even on the raw stuff. But when you can produce your own goat milk, you see a complete change in even your own gut biomes and stuff like that, just all the way around. Like, you can handle some of the most beautiful artisan cheeses and butters that you could ever dream of making, all straight from something that you love on and deal with on a day-to-day basis.
That's beautiful.
It's putting the energy. You're putting positive energy into things that you're creating to put into your body. This is. I know everybody out there watching and listening and stuff. Y'all know I always make the joke about being married to a witch, and that's like she's taught me all the kind of the good, cool stuff about using the positive energy. Like, that's where a lot of that stuff comes from that I know, like, is things that she's added on to what teaching me and stuff like that. And we try to practice this stuff with a very, large amount of the things that we do. Like, I decided that I needed to get away from society before all the crazy happened a few years ago. but like I kicked it into high gear when all the crazy started, like it was just like, nope, like I have to be, I have a family and stuff.
Point.
I have
you
to
be on point.
I have to be on point and I have to be prepared. Like I can't be wading in the water. It's dangerous.
Do you have a son or a daughter?
Yes, both.
Okay. And okay, young, little ones.
Yeah. I mean, the oldest one's hitting double digits, but the youngest one's like still crawling.
So a Food Forrest, I mean, really, like the one I'm putting in now, I mean, it's going to be in 5 years, it's going to be doing really well, and in 10 years, it's going to be killing it.
Ridiculous. Yes.
So think about it in those terms too. Like what you do today is for your 5-year-old or your 10-year-old. Imagine when your 10-year-old turns 20 and has a functioning, producing Food Forest where it's like you can't not mess with all this stuff because it'll either go to waste or and that's not what we're doing here. You know what I mean? It's like it's bumper crop.
Yeah.
And so and you start it small. So you start with almost nothing and you're hoping for it to start showing up. And then you get a little bit and you're like, ooh, cool, enough to eat. And then you get a little more and you're like, ooh, I got to give the neighbors some. And then the next thing you know, a few years into it, you're like, we got to start doing like a farmer's market and selling our sweet potatoes that we used as ground cover. Now we've got 3 baskets full of sweet potatoes. It's just, and stuff like that. Yeah, you would want to switch up the soil and not do that in the same spot every year.
Sure.
So there's a couple things that you
have to move around. Sure.
Some things you are going to have to learn some things about gardening, but again, I don't know anything about it. Okay.
Potatoes are some of the easiest things. Like I encourage potatoes and onions on a regular basis because it does not take much at all to multiply potatoes and onions. Like you can, when you see them having some eyes sitting on the counter right there, and they starting to grow themselves like that, it's time. It's not time to throw it away. It's time to cut them in half and go find somewhere to stick them in the ground because there's your next set of potatoes right there. And one half of a potato that's sprouted like that can easily turn into a few pounds. Like if you have good soil and stuff like that, that is one that you do have to move around, but it's so easy to move it around. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
And there's a lot of really cool tricks that I've learned recently that are, well, one thing that I would recommend you guys look into that it sounds too good to be true and it sounds fake, but it's so far as for what I can tell, it's real. But it's called electrostatic gardening.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen into it. And have you experimented with it? Because the only thing they don't cover is like, I imagine that there's literature out there. What's the frequencies that you're pushing and so on?
What I understand from it is that you're basically just harnessing the
Electro Culture.
The orgone, the chi, the prana, whatever you want to call it, the energy of the earth that's already there, and you're just harnessing that, and it's for a lack of a better term, just straightening things out in the soil and in the plant, and just making it so that it's like a
Bandit's practicing it. Yeah.
Yep. These are the guys that I know about.
Sure. Yeah. Our co-host, he is stuck in suburbia, but he is totally turning his backyard into a suburban homestead. Like he posts sometimes on the website that he, of the things that he's working on, and he definitely keeps me up to date on day to day. And he's got the chickens and the rabbits and a few other small things going on, and then he's started doing all the garden and stuff, and that is something he was actually going to try this year since he's doing a lot of things above ground because he's inside of a neighborhood. He's going to use the Electro Culture to help ground his plants is his idea with it. And like I've looked into this a lot myself too, and think this is something that was definitely practiced in the past, but has just been kind of buried by the great propaganda machine to keep you from, keep you going and trying to buy Miracle Grow, which is definitely not good for your system.
None of it is. I mean, with Electro Culture, apparently there's been people growing stuff bigger and better without any fertilizers, any sprays of any sorts. Just seriously stick a plant in the ground and let it grow with a stick and a coiled up piece of copper on it. It's like, are you, what? And see, this is why I know how God is always, like, to me, it's the foundation of what I'm doing too, by the way, and not in any kind of religious sense, but just the understanding of the Creator, but the simplicity. Imagine the level of complexity it took to come up with a spray that you could aerosolize through jet engines and spray across the planet over 40 years to get some sort of weird psycho plan accomplished, which is what they've been doing. And that it can be undone with a coiled up piece of copper on a stick. Which is where I heard about it first, was from Jim Gale at Food Forrest Abundance, talking about his coil coppers that he had sitting there. And he's like, when they told us about this, they told us that this was going to get rid of chemtrails. And I was like, really? Well, okay. And they were like, yes, it will. And so he was making a video at that time. He's like, we've had these out here for 4 days now. And he's like, check this out. And he's filming his sky above his food forest, above this massive plantation of food forest. It's 26 acres, 52 really the whole thing, but 26 of it. And you can see chemtrails coming in and leaving, and nothing but pure blue above his whole farm. It's just like, what? Like,
that's fascinating. And also I'm like, I have so many questions on what it could the local change of frequency in relation to all the other work that's being done actually alter all the way up to the sky, and to a degree it can, because when you realize that thunder, when you see a thunderbolt, sometimes it'll originate from the ground up, when the two connect, when the battery connects. So people don't understand that the sky and the ground are very much connected.
Yeah,
it's just we don't think about it because the distance feels so obscenely large that we can't think that there's a negative and a positive or vice versa charge relationship between the sky and the earth.
Have you guys ever seen the old photos and see things that like from old fairs and stuff, like not the World's Fair, but just like old local fairs and stuff where people have grown, like ridiculous pumpkins and stuff like that, just ridiculous sized fruits and vegetables, and one of those things has always been like, how did they successfully do that if there wasn't all this garbage that they're trying to promote as the positive way to do it back then? And I really think that this Electro Culture had something to do with it. Like, I think this is like something that they figured out could help create food in abundance before we let scientists start playing with genetics and stuff in the food and such. Like,
and just telling us how things were, period.
Yeah.
If they're wearing a white lab coat, they just must know better than us, so just do what they say.
Right.
What? Where did our spirit go? God, our grandparents would just be sick with us. You know what I mean? Like, my grandparents were just so strong, such strong people. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, it makes me feel bad that I just, even the things that I do well and I'm proud of at all, I'm like, God, I just think about what my granddad did, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm such a shadow, you know what I mean? Of
I mean, we are constantly learning about our past, and we can't shut ourselves completely that we're not doing everything like they did, because there's a lot of reasons why they did the things that they did at the time they did it. And some of the things were good, and some of the things were pretty freaking stupid. And you're not going to judge them for all the stupid things that your ancestors were doing. Yeah,
well, I'm
just kind of more of the work ethic attitude. Like, they just, you know what I mean? Just
like
go always doing something. And there was no time to waste. TV was not a thing to do. It was like, that was like, man, we might flip it on for an hour at the end of the day just to go to bed. But no, we're doing stuff all day. That kind of thing, really.
Sure. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And like, it makes you wonder when you see some of the ignoramus kind of things that go on today around us, if maybe some of those mistakes that pop up throughout history weren't something that was propagated to people to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, like, oh, buy this new great thing, but it, like, the uranium glass or whatever, and then it turns out that you probably shouldn't be eating off of radioactive plates and such. Like, it's it's probably not a good idea. And but at some point in time, somebody was making a quick buck or making some good money because they had found
because it glows.
Like, yeah, because it glows. Yeah, exactly. And
cool.
And
well, there were watches that actually had a radioactive tip that killed all of the employees that were making the watches, because they were licking the piece in order to, like, they were licking it their mouth constantly. So all of them got mouth cancer. All the women.
My goodness.
All the women died not too long after. They died like a year or two after. All of them.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yikes, man. That's hardcore.
Well, I believe Curie even died of radiation. I mean, all these people that were experimenting with radiation, they died. I mean, Did
Yeah.
you look up old pictures of people experimenting with X-rays? They were really stupidly fucking around with it. They were just leaving it on.
Wow.
It's like, oh look,
And standing in front of it?
Yeah, I know that you used to be able to go to the shoe. Like when my mom was a kid, you could go and put your foot in the new shoe under the machine that was an X-ray, and look at your foot inside the shoe and see where your toes were.
Well, my
they
mom
took
used
that
to
out
play with
there.
mercury in her hand.
Huh?
Yeah,
it
your
again?
parents probably was like, oh yeah, I was like, I did this with mercury. I'm like,
Oh, right, played with mercury in school. Yep.
well,
Yes.
it's really, I don't believe it can seep into your skin. It's the fumes though. That's what's really, really toxic. It's if mercury, which it's already liquid, so it doesn't take that much for it to turn into fume.
Right.
But
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous. I don't remember the exact method of why you don't want to mess with it. I just know it's not a good idea.
mercury, I mean, a million different things. It destroys your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
I-
look at all the lead and other heavy metal poisoning that was sold to the people before us, and then before that, the people that were sold asbestos for putting it in their house.
What are you
and stuff
talking
like
about?
that.
They're
Like,
still selling asbestos. Canada is the number
Sure.
one exporter of asbestos in the world.
Oh, sure, I don't doubt it.
To India.
What's funny is that I just realized that I believe lead. So think about this.
All right.
So lead is not poisonous, and they
Okay.
did not stop putting lead in paint or selling lead paint because kids were eating lead paint chips. What they realized was that their agenda, which was going to be to put out Wi-Fi in all of its different forms, because that was where they were going to be able to control and use all their technology,
I had the same
was
thought.
disrupted by
Isn't
lead.
it interesting? They took
That
it
is
out of
interesting.
all the paint.
They did. They took it. They took it out of everything. Even gas used to be leaded or
they,
whatever.
they drape you with lead when you go to the dentist and you don't want to get hurt.
No. The gas one. The gas one's valid.
Is it?
The gas argument is valid
Is it
with
though?
mercury,
because it's aerosolized. Are you kidding me?
but with lead,
But who said that it is though? Like the same people that said that the lead needed to come out of the paint.
it's not.
No. So okay. So you can look at the studies even showcasing. I mean, there is a correlationship. When you took out lead, well, they did this analysis and saying, well, the problem is two things happen simultaneously. They took the lead out of the majority of the products, and they also legalized abortion. And then 20 years later, violence went down. So it is known that high exposure to lead causes cognitive dysfunction and causes violent tendencies to be very, very enhanced pretty much because
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't looked at any of those
prefrontal
studies.
cortex. Yeah, but prefrontal cortex doesn't have proper development, especially for males. So their aggression will take over. So that's why right now, who knows what's the reason? It could also be lead poisoning again.
I mean, to me, this just sounds like a fancy person's way of saying that this is another thing that added to the weakening down of men. Because if they wouldn't have done that, there probably wouldn't be to the point that we are right now.
Well, that's the thing is the data around children, adults with high exposure to lead is.
But I gotta ask, Luis, who's are the same people that are giving this data?
This is from many sides. So this is not.
But
it is not a debated topic.
But are
lead
they?
Poisoning is not a debated topic.
I understand.
You can look it up. It's not a debated topic. What I'm saying is people from different sides, people from the same side you're talking about, and people from their side, they're like, oh, okay, this is definitively a bad thing.
But but see, that's the point. Is that again, the Republicans and the Democrats both work together to get a bigger agenda accomplished. So.
Neither of them wanted
different ways of doing
it. They were forced by
you can get paid
to get rid of the.
You can get paid to get the results that you want to get, regardless of what it is. Like
right, and again, that way you can say people will say, "Oh, well, look, scientists are saying it. They're not politically motivated, or they don't have any." And no one would have ever thought that. Why would you take the lead paint out? Like back when they were doing it, the concept of frequencies being needed to be blasted through the entirety of space, including walls and ceilings and everything else. Like, you know, they foresaw DNA back in the 1800s. I mean, these people are visionaries. They are
I mean,
pure evil,
we knew
but
of
they are
DNA
visionaries.
we actually knew of DNA for thousands of years, but it's
Well, ancients had different concepts of it, but as far as like being able to figure out that it's a thing that's within us, like that was in the 1800s. They envisioned it. Now they actually proved it by however long it took them. It took them another 50 or 60 years, but they knew what they were looking for. And so they are visionaries. And so in that regard, something like taking lead out of paint just so that they could, in 40 years, have this, you know, availability. That's not a stretch is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's 100% what happened. I'm just saying that's not a stretch.
I did have that same thought that you were thinking about. I understand completely where you're coming from, because I had the same thought. I was like, isn't it convenient that it took the lead out of the paint, and then that means that the transmission of signals is very easy. And if you go to really old buildings that still have a layer of lead paint in them, guess what? You can't make a phone call with a cell phone out of those places at all.
And it's the same with the difference in like when they change tinfoil to aluminum foil. Like,
Yeah, that's weird because tin is cheaper
Yeah,
than aluminum. Aluminum is actually pretty expensive.
yeah, but when you start lining things with it, you know, on the inside of hats, that's when they start questioning you. So
it starts to get toxic. That's right. I mean, that's what they. I mean, why
No,
would
the
they
fact
put
that we've been
BPA in
cooking with
everything?
aluminum is just now learning as an adult, like how stupid it is that we've been cooking with aluminum this whole time, and it's
Yeah.
such a stupid thing.
Same thing with
And
Teflon. You know that Teflon's main thing that it does is it attacks male genitalia. It literally shrinks male genitalia. That's what Teflon does. That's its main thing that it does. Like, wow.
yikes! Like
Mhm.
that, I'll take a good old cast
steal
iron.
everything.
I use
just
cast
steal
iron
everything in the
skillets and
kitchen.
stuff. Yeah, like I've always had a bunch of cast iron. Like that's just been something I've always cooked on.
I've also read recently, and these are things that I'm just now finding out about as well. It's not like I've known a lot of this stuff forever, but
Yeah,
that iron is the problem and copper is the solution.
I've totally got a bunch of copper too.
Just like it is in the soil, right? Which is what we're doing with the copper on the stick and putting it in there.
Yeah.
And that iron is what's killing our plants. It's the same in our blood. It's the iron in us, and they tell you the exact opposite. They tell you that you'll get copper poisonous if you take too much, and they'll tell you you need your iron.
I do.
It's literally the opposite.
I do also actually have a set of copper pots. Like that's for
Cool.
something I found a long time ago too. Like, and they do a lot better for non-stick situations. Or when it comes to cast iron, I highly recommend using it for like baking. Like that's been always my thing, because I still think that you need to take in some iron, but I'm not a guy that believes in a lot of the supplements that exist
No?
and stuff like that. Like some of them, yes, but there's a lot of them out there that are totally just a marketing scam.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's not really that good for you. You don't really know where it's been shipped from. I know sea moss is a thing that you have to be extra careful with, because there's a lot of sea moss out there that's just absolute garbage, and you know, not the thing that people are looking for, but people sell it, you know, as the stuff. And you know, because again, this is people just trying to there's people out there just trying to make a buck.
The supplement market is extremely full of scams to a very high degree. So when you buy from certain, I would say a supplement brand that you can look up that's like being recertified by many people, Solgar. They are you can look them up. Their bottles are like brown and gold. Okay. They're out of New Jersey, but they are trusted. People have tested them. People, even outside people, have tested them. So, for example, when it comes to vitamin E, the majority of people, like when you go to Costco, you're not getting vitamin E.
Nope.
The vitamin E that they sell you at Costco is not the vitamin E that you should be taking.
Yep.
There's even different types of vitamin C. Like the trickery with relationship to the labeling, when you see, for example, the Solgar brand, and then you see other brands, you'll see the Solgar writes the right things on the labels and other brands show you different. But yeah, this company, at least in relationship to options, they had almost everything, and they're real. It's just real. So I at least take their vitamin D3 every single day.
Yeah, I actually take quite a few supplements, and I've found a couple companies that are worth my time and stuff I've been taking for a couple of years, And and it's
You gotta look because a few of them have never been tested, so they're like, wait,
they've been tested and retested. It's Alex
Nice.
Jones stuff. Like, dude, people buy his stuff to like prove that he's selling snake oil, and then they go, damn, it's actually the top of the line shit. And I have almost everything out of his shit, and then I have like 3 or 4 other companies. Like, so Ancient Nutrition, everything they sell is just Cadillac,
Yeah.
Rolls Royce. And they sell a lot of stuff too. They sell a lot of good probiotics. They sell a lot of greens, like green scoops of greens.
Yes.
That you add to shakes and whatnot.
Yes.
Dude, their stuff is Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
they don't have everything. They don't have everything.
Yeah.
And not one place that I've ever found has everything that I want, at least. And so Alex
it's also sourcing. It's also sourcing. It's not that easy.
Right. Exactly.
And we have a few people scattered around the state down here that with my wife being into herbs and stuff, that they're all connected, and there's quite a bit of the ones that we get for here that, this one grows it because she grows something different and they want to swap it up, and or there is multiple stores around the state that we'll visit because we'd rather buy it, of course, as local as we can for a lot of things. And we lean closer to teas, like the supplement. And again, I'm not like banging on supplements or whatever, but because there are some good ones out there. I'll agree with you on the ancient ones there, man. Those definitely some top of the line.
What's that company again? Ancient what?
Ancient Nutrition.
Yes,
and it's Dr. Axe. So like and there's 2 websites though. So like if you type in draxe.com or whatever, that'll take you to all his like how to be healthy and how to eat right, blah blah blah. And there's tons and tons of stuff. But then go to Ancient Nutrition, which is still run by the same dude, but you got to go to ancientnutrition.com, and then that's all the store. That's the whole store, and there's tons of good stuff in there. So.
But like we do a lot of teas, so like we get a lot of fresh herbs and stuff like that, as many places as we can.
See, this goes back to why I'm talking about because I know I'm well aware that I'm reliant on the mail for my health. Okay, and that's not acceptable. I mean, it's not sustainable. That's for sure.
Sure,
it's going on right now, and I mean, I'm at peak health. I really am. I got like fish oil, krill oil, like. Nice. The level of like DNA force type stuff, it's just like, and I mean, I wake up and I'm like an energy ball all day long, and then when I go to sleep, I lay down on the pillow and I don't move for like 6 hours, and then I wake up and I'm up, and that's it.
Beautiful.
Kind of do that every day, and that's plus I'm coming up with this idea, and I feel like I'm riding the spirit. I feel like I'm actually doing what my higher self wants me to be doing now, so that's why I have so much energy. That's why I feel so good. Because I went through some alcoholism, I went through some drug addiction, and I mean long years of it, and almost killed myself. And then I've been sober for 4.5 years now, and
Congratulations!
Thank you. It took 2 years to come back home to take care of my mom. So I had to get sober, so I was even kind of able to do that.
Yeah.
And in those 2.5 years, I'm coming into what I feel like is my real mission on this planet now. Like, because I've moved past all the figuring out who I am from that old person, and then I literally was reborn. Like I know now what it means to be reborn. Not so much going to church and doing and getting baptized or whatever. Maybe that's fine if that's your thing, but I was reborn because that dude died, and I'm a new dude now. Like. Intrinsically, every bit of him. I had to go to people and sit down and be like, here's why and how I was wrong. I'm so sorry, and if there's anything I can do to repay you for how I completely mistreated you, I will do that. And I had a list, and I had to go to and that changes you, dude. It changes you as a person. It just does.
It does. It is as crazy as this might sound or stuff. You have. Because of a lot of the things that lead to a lot of psychological things in society and stuff like that, just in general. But between pressures, this, that, and the other, and you've got if anything, you've got a true pandemic upon. It's like mental health. I would say across the board, and a lot of it has to do with everybody's innards and stuff just being all wonky because of the things that are sold to you that you're told are food in the store. And it it's just gotten way worse over time. The more you research and the more you start to look around in like the grocery store today compared to like looking around in the grocery store even as little as 10 years ago, the choices just keep getting smaller and smaller, and you're forced to only buy specific things that seem to exist unless you're capable of making a lot of things yourself. Another big thing that I've found even more recently, like I changed to like real bakery bread a while ago, quit buying like the stuff that was just on the shelf that you see. But
right.
I've started venturing into making my own bread, and I've got really hooked onto sourdoughs because I understand that those are great for your gut and stuff like that too. If it's one thing that I can say that they had figured out for sure that I think is provable is back when they fermented everything, there was a lot more health benefits going on in your gut than
absolutely.
Than before. And I think that's why humans have a tendency to, ferment everything, like literally ferment everything. Sure, they've turned a lot of it into alcohol and such, but like, I mean, that, it's a different level, when you're doing like the sourdough or you're doing I make hot sauces too, like homemade hot sauces, and there's nothing like a classically made fermented pepper hot sauce. Like to me that just takes the flavor to all new kinds of levels and stuff like that. And once you start doing a lot of this stuff you're on your own, you realize that to me personally, it's not that big of a deal to handle the food level for like my family and stuff like that, but like you start seeing your eating habits change. A common thing in today's society is people just eat because they're bored. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're sitting there watching TV and snacking, or you go to meet people to eat, or even if you just eat. The fare's a joke nowadays, man. Like the rides are the same rides that they were 40 years ago, and they haven't been attended to, and they're super dangerous. But you sure enough go up there and gorge on food while you're there, stuff that's definitely not that healthy for you. But like when you start eating just better in general, and it's not even eating like less or dieting or anything like that. It's just eating better quality foods
appropriately. Yeah.
You feel a difference. Like your body's not as dragging and as painful and stuff like that. Like juicers and stuff like that. You made mention of that. Like we actually finally got us a newer kind of modern juicer, and I'm super excited about it too. Like she's been juicing everything under the sun, but like I'm like, hey, I'm just in it for some fresh orange juice in the mornings. Like,
right. Yeah, there you go.
Like I like it, or even grapefruit juice. I think that's even better for you. But there's
it's so good too.
There's like I see so many, like, man, like this. Luis, we're always talking to people that are changing the world. And this is one of those things. Like, I'm against the yard. That's something I preach about a lot. Like, I'll tell you real quick.
The front yards with the grass?
You don't need a front yard. That's garbage. Like, you don't need
I have never found the logic of it. I'd rather it be a space that you could use to socialize. I mean, that you could use to gather and meet and chat.
Think of
I literally passed by my friend's house and we sat, we just walked and stalked in front of his place in the front for an hour and a half. Nice. But what was the point of spending the quadrillions of gallons of water to make the grass green? Like, think
of all the cool things. You think of hanging out in a cool spot where all this food's growing around you, and you're just sitting on some benches inside of it.
And that's the other thing. Is like try to keep plots of the natural fauna of the region that you like.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of a food forest, and I'm glad you brought that up because
the local things.
People in Michigan have food forests. People in Canada have food forests. Food forests now, not gardens, food forest. Because everywhere you live, something grows, and it just does naturally. And
for that environment.
So when you develop a food forest, again, this is part of the idea of permaculture. You're not like, well, let's see, what do I want to eat? You go, where do I live and what grows here? And that's now what you grow. if you want to do something different,
Oh,
you
man.
move to a place that has more variety or just has something else, period.
Well, down here, I'm not sure what part of the Carolina, or in South Carolina that you're at, but like I know down here in Georgia, we have on a regular wild blackberries, wild strawberries, muscadines, and scoopernogs, all through, like you walk out the back door and they're just growing wildly on a tree and stuff like that.
Yep.
And people are like, wait, what are the muscadines and scoopernogs? Listen, they're better than grapes. You totally got to peel them. It's a pain in the butt, and they do have seeds in them, but it's worth it. It makes a beautiful jelly and an even prettier wine.
Yeah.
And like we look forward to blackberry season at the beginning of the spring, like beginning mid-spring. You got to go out there with your tall boots on because there is definitely snakes in them bushes. But
Snakes.
yeah, but the old folks around here call them snakeberry bushes, but they're blackberry bushes. And
I remember finding one in the golf course. We were like, "Oh, look, snake!" But we were like, "It's harmless."
Most of the time they're just harmless garden snakes. I mean, we do have some dangerous ones down here, and that's why you wear boots just to be safe. But I'd go take the kids and go pick blackberries in the woods all day. One, it's some great memories. Two, I can teach them some other cool things along the way, like identifying mushrooms and different fungus and stuff. And then three, we get to go home and make either a pie or some awesome jam or something like this. And it just grew wildly out in the woods right here at the house. It's just
Jim is in a relatively rural area, so it's easier. And I'm not, for example. So I know that the reason why, I know one of the reasons why you don't see fruits in the open air. It's because the air is toxic and the plants are feeding off those heavy metals that come off the exhaust of the vehicles. So I've even thought, I don't want to eat something that grew in this area.
Yeah,
yet I'm living in it.
There
and
is
I should also
level of
What about like a community garden where you're at, Luis?
we
Like,
did that,
you
but
guys have that?
at the same time, it still feels stupid. It still feels
but
stupid
that's the
because
thing.
it's
If it
too
was
close to
everywhere,
the exhaust.
if it was everywhere, then and again, it's like imagine wherever you see green plots of just like around the gas station and around. I mean, if it was if all the medians had nut trees.
Well,
right?
that's what Mexico's doing. The government of Mexico has put in a giant green program, so they want to greenify the entire city. If you didn't know, Mexico City's air pollution is really high. Also, Mexico City physically is almost a mile high up.
Oh, wow.
So they don't have bugs. They don't have a lot of bugs. So yeah, it's interesting. The Mexico City itself is on top of a plateau. The majority of the population of Mexico, I think 70% of the population, or more than 70, live atop of this region. And the rest of the country's empty.
Wow.
Because better weather, it's colder, it's nicer, it's stable, and there's almost no bugs.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good part. The no
Right?
bugs thing.
It's like in Denver. They're like in Denver, there's no bugs because you're a mile high up.
Yeah.
Yep. There's still bugs. I lived in Colorado most of my life. There's still bugs, but it's not like
less.
anywhere else, but way less. Yeah.
Not like down here in the South, right? I mean,
Not like down here.
we've got things down here that when they fly by, the wind blows off of them. It's just like, whoa.
For real. Something did a fly by me earlier when I was digging out in my yard, and it was not a wasp or a bee, but it sounded like one of those, probably like a murder hornet. You know what I mean? Those massive those trucks that fly around now.
Yeah, dude, I keep seeing. This is a.
I hope they really did extinguish them because that does not look like a nice invasive species.
This also gets into something else that I'm kind of oddly passionate about that people I think feel a little funky about is, I've always been the guy that tells you don't rake your yard because you're killing a bunch of natural pollinators, habitats, and stuff like that. And as bad as this sounds, most, not all, most of your honeybees are foreign and have been brought here. And there have been over 40,000 affected natural pollinators from here in the United States because of honeybees.
What was a huge species of pollinator that we've been killing?
Just there's moths and bumblebees and different kinds of already existing honeybees that we had that they have been, wiping out. of different kinds, because a lot of these other honeybees are very territorial, and like your Italian honeybees and your
Well, you
European
guys remember
honeybees.
in the early
The-
2000s, the African bees that came from
do you,
Brazil because some retard researcher
yeah.
let them go, and they went from Brazil
Well,
all the way up.
okay, do you know what that researcher was doing?
Stupid
He was
things.
taking an aggressive bee from Africa and crossing it with Italian honeybees, because Italian honeybees are some of the most territorial honeybees you can come across. They will kill any and every other insect around the area, wasps being one of their natural predators. And believe it or not, even though everybody is not a big fan of wasps, they do a lot of pollinating for peaches and figs and a few other stone fruits. But these Italian honeybees have taken they you know they'll take out entire wasp nests and stuff. And this guy crossed this already aggressive honeybee with this already aggressive African bee and made a mad scientist bee that got out and did exactly that. That's why they're a creature too. They mate and mutate and stuff like that. And I know it's terrible, but there's a fellow that I do follow online that he's the killer bee guy, and he is trying to get rid of like Italian honeybees and stuff like that. Because there's another thing is people don't understand what happens when they just up and leave the hive one day, because they will, and they'll go make a new hive out in the woods somewhere else, and they're super destructive and stuff like that. And yes, again, save the bees, sure, but they don't realize that that's a propagated thing to make people in a way kind of be okay with farmed bees. And people are always like, Jim, you're nuts. But it's when you start looking into this, it's crazy to see that we didn't produce honey the way we produced honey, but we didn't produce it a lot the way that we did now. Wild honey was a thing. Like you could really find wild honey inside of trees and stuff like that. It's not just a Winnie the Pooh story. Like it's a real thing that used to exist more until the colonizer bees, I guess, if you want to call them, like showed up and started murdering off other bees. Sorry, I seen an opportunity to make a joke.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of funny though. That's crazy. I didn't know that about the bees.
Yeah, and it's just being pro don't rake your grass, and pro allowing for a lot of like your natural fauna to grow and stuff. With goats and stuff, you just kind of rotate them out throughout the yard, and you let them do any work on keeping anything high down. But like, man, other than that, let it grow.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's all kinds of beautiful natural flowers and beautiful just random things that you wouldn't really see if you didn't just let it go. Like
And with food forestry, you put a lot of so you've got a tree that's your canopy,
Yeah.
and then you create a guild. So underneath that canopy, you plant things around the tree that are going to be your pollinator attractors, and
Yeah.
then below that you've got your nitrogen fixing stuff. So it creates a symbiosis in everything that's all near it all grows well together. There's actually a book called Garlic Loves Roses, or no, sorry, it's called Roses Love Garlic, and then there's a companion book to that called Carrots Love Tomatoes, and it's about what things go well together and what things don't go well together, more specifically in like a vegetable garden or a flower capacity. But there's a lot of good information in that book just about companion planting, tomatoes and. There you are.
Yeah.
I just got that one. It's the two of them together. I just bought that one, and I didn't
Nice.
spend $41 on it though. I didn't spend that much, but it's a great book.
It looks like they got a few copies on there if you guys move quick for $12. So I mean that's another one of those weird things itself, is I believe that they intentionally try to high price things that are actually beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got to pay for knowledge. Knowledge is the key to this whole problem.
Yeah.
That's another part of what I'm talking about when I go out and pushing like, hey guys, I want to make a food forest in our community, and they'll be like, okay. And it's like, but the idea is education, because it doesn't just stop with, well, let's just put food in our yard. and then go about our everyday lives. No. We're building the future here, so we've got to completely change like our focus and our idea of we have to envision a different future, because literally the way the controllers want us to go, it's going to be 15-minute cities and a chip and connected to the internet and regular shots of some sort if they can help it. And that's what they want for us. And so we literally have to not just say no. That's of course part of it, but we have to have like an idea of what we want to do alternatively, because there's no one's going to just build anything for us.
You know what this would combine well with, Luis? Julian's gas makers.
True.
So on top of your permaforest idea, to go with this, I've got met a genius young man out of Georgia down here that is turning plastic into gas and turning food compost into natural gas. And he took technology that big, huge paid scientists got to a rope and they were like, oh, we can't figure it out. And he figured it out in his backyard with scrap metal and junk.
Wow.
So what he did was he took a methodology that was invented around 13, 14 years ago by a Japanese scientist, and he made it more efficient with microwaves, because the way that it was originally done was not with microwaves. So he then improved upon the methodology, increasing the overall yield of energy. So he's actually getting more energy back that he's putting in because of the conversion of matter. The output fuel then gives you a relative math comparison that equals more energy that you put in. So that's one of the biggest takeaways is he figured out a net positive basically.
I mean, he figured out a net positive for our plastic problem.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's awesome.
Which doesn't have a net positive exchange of energy. Usually it takes you a lot of energy for you to get rid of it, because plastic is not used for when they burn fuel when they burn trash for fuel, they generally are not burning plastic.
Right.
So
yeah. Oh, I mean, and they have proven that there's these some kind of bacteria or bugs or something that can, over a long amount of time, can get rid of the plastic. But the fact that we're finding microplastics across the board,
right? Yeah.
The only solution is to have something that has a net positive on it. And the work that I think Julian's doing, combined with all, a lot of the efforts I've seen to collect plastic from the ocean and stuff like that, this is positive steps forward in these kind of motions, even with this too. These are things that I would love to see combined. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and that's my whole point, dude, is that yes, because I'm just starting the base. I've just got the idea for the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Just understand that our connection to God and that this planet is the primary thing, because without those two, there's no us. So then, okay, well then what's the first step? Well, we feed ourselves. Let's make sure we have food. And that creates community. It just real simply, and then so now you've got a strong little community, and now anything is possible. Anything is possible, and that's where people like him have the freedom. That's why Food Forrest freedom, because it really does create freedom for people like him to come out and go, hey, check this out. Instead of some big company coming in and buying it up, and if he won't sell, he just happens to die in a car crash the other day, and who knows who that guy was. You know what I mean? You know how much that happens?
Oh, sure.
And so it's so we can actually prevent that stuff, and then it might be different because we're not going to have the big global communication system initially to promote all these ideas, and so there's going to be little groups of people that are just kicking ass, and they're not going to be able to share it. So that's going to be the trick, is to get all this information shared with one another. And dude, we're going to build a new future, and it's going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool. And I think really it starts with food forestry. And again, that's not my idea. I take no credit for it, other than that it has inspired me so much in my own personal innards, right? That I can't do anything but be like, hey, if we do it this way, this is a perfect place to start. And it feeds you. It feeds your neighbors who are going to be crusty and won't do it. Then after time, there's just, your example is undefeatable. It's wow, look at what happened in 5 years. Look at his situation now. It's all right, let's put in a food forest. You know what I mean? We should have done it 5 years ago.
Oh, Absolutely. And there's so many net positives to a lot of these things. There are people that I'm running across that have, because I'm always looking for the most interesting conversation I can find. And like, there's all these kind of people that have these alternative ideas to the garbage we've been being fed. And that's what we're looking for. Everybody's always looking for answers. Like, what do we do next? And I think this is another one of those ideas that's just like a ridiculous positive solution. Like it especially in like small towns. Again, Luis, I'm sorry. I love you, buddy. I know you just need to escape from New York. But like, aside from that, like places where I am out here in the middle of, nowhere, like, sure, we have a truck route that comes through here. You know what I mean? Like you see the 18-wheelers, but there's so much dead land and so much many places that you pass that are just green. And sure, there's a lot of farm pastures and stuff, but I could just imagine a lot of these neighbors and stuff like that even I have doing something like this and just seeing the benefits of the food answer. Like the food answer is the biggest thing. I've talked to people of all walks of life, and that's one of the biggest things I think I've heard everybody across the board. They're like, "Oh man, what are we going to go hungry?" And it's and somebody that's had some low points themselves.
It teaches you that you have to eat differently.
Yeah,
because you can't grow Triscuits, dude. You can't grow Dominoes. You have to learn to eat what we can grow. And then, dude, there's animals and stuff. I personally haven't eaten flesh. Well, okay, now yesterday I did, but before yesterday, I hadn't eaten flesh in a year and a half. And it was not because I am a vegan. I'm not a vegan. It's because I don't appreciate the way the animals are treated in factory farming.
Fair.
And so I was like, I can't do that, dude. I watched the movie Human, or what was it called? Human Beings, or what's it called? Yeah. With Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, nope, I can't eat. I'm not eating meat anymore. I can't do that. And so that was really what did it. And then over time, I kind of more rationally approached the situation. And I still get all my protein from whey protein. I take whey protein shakes. I do a lot of shakes and I eat like one meal of food a day.
With you being down here in the Southeast, man, like again, I'm not exactly sure where you are, but I know where I am. Like there are literal farms that have like, literal on the side of the road farm stands and like that, like that's highly encouraged for your meat, even for like the meat that I don't deal with on my own thing, like that. Because I've decided to get out of pigs. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing my own pigs, but man, they take up so much of my time and are so much of a hassle that I was just like, you know what? I bet you I could trade a bunch of eggs and a bunch of milk for some bacon if I truly wanted it, from another farmer. Right. And instead of trying to deal with the pigs myself, because they're a lot more work than I was tied up to deal with. I don't know. You live and you learn. I've tried a handful of different things. Like I won't ever do ducks again. Like they're cool if they want to pass by and use the pond, but like I won't ever keep them again myself. Just not even because of the inevitable that I had planned for them, but just because, my God, they are destructive. Like,
so real quick, Luis, I don't want you to be discouraged here, man. Like, this is totally for you, dude. Like, I know it's, so this is part of my plan too, was the whole, the trinity of the principles. So God being the top, your mindset being the second, and your attitude being the third. And this is not just about the food forestry, but it's how we create community and how we truly build the future. Like, so, I mean, if you're just going to say, well, New York's a wash, then that's cool. And I get that.
I would say where I am is a more problematic space, but we actually did attempt these types of things already here before to an extent. So I do believe in this.
Yeah, a forest is hard to do for sure where you are. I mean, man, you could do indoor gardening. I mean, and that's where I was going to go with it. You just gotta work with what you've got.
We had a place, we were doing crazy anarchistic things, and then a fire came and destroyed it all. Oh. But we have actually attempted to do crazy things over here.
Cool. Well, okay, good. Good attitudes. Then, all right, fantastic. Well, good. I just
building community around those same points.
No, we always
all destroyed by a fire.
I always give Luis a hard time because he's Mr. City fella. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I've been there. I've lived my time up there and
But
stuff
the
too.
thing
It's
is
just,
this is doable in the cities. I don't want people to think,
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't live. First of all, I don't want people thinking, well, I don't live in the South or where it's warm, so I can't do that. No, dude. Again, there's
Yeah.
food forests in Canada.
yeah.
Brilliant food. You got to look it up. Just type in Canada food forest in YouTube,
Well,
and then look at some of these. It will
This
blow
is-
your mind.
This is also interesting because, you know, I was especially talking to that gentleman the other night with the pirate party. He is out of Chicagoland, as he says, and like, you know, that's an interesting area, and I think that something like this would be something that he would actually want to hear more about too, like himself. Like that, I'm actually going to make sure I forward this episode to him too, because like this is something I think would be right up his alley as well, and like you have. You know, even what the original guy Gale that you said had
Jim
had
Gale.
come up with a lot of this and stuff too. You know, like, but you can always build on this even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Which is
just
his
so
whole
much
point.
you can
Yeah,
do.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, he's talking to billionaires
Yeah.
who are jazzed on this idea. He's making this thing happen for real. I'm just being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take his idea and just go tell it to my local town and be like, come on, guys,
Let's
we're
do
falling
this.
behind here. Let me build you a food forest.
Yeah.
Give me a spot downtown. Let me run around and convince the people, because we live in a town where there are literally over 100 certified master gardeners. This is a garden town. This is a horse town.
Hey.
This is a art town. So I'm going to hit them with, I'm going to beautify your town with common sense food growth that can be used as a template to teach the younger generation, here's how you survive.
Yes.
And look how beautiful it can be. It's going to be an attraction. People are going to come to this town because it isn't very big.
Yeah.
They're going to come here because they want to see the brilliant food forest, which there's one being done in Georgia somewhere. I had an article,
There is.
and it's a huge community food forest. It's just free. Somebody did what I'm doing, and then now everybody goes there and farms there. Like, they get their stuff there. It's just like, dude,
And
that's
it's
what I'm talking about.
and the fact that I already know that there is one in Georgia, like, you know, I this is really something I think that I would encourage everybody to check out, like even Gail's stuff or whatever that I got, because I got some links already to his website as well too. But like, and build on it, and literally like go this. This is one of those things that you could go and bring to the attention of your, you know, community meetings and, you know, downtown and stuff like this, and actually start talking to the people of your town. Like, this could totally be like a viral idea. You could talk to somebody from every town, go to your town and talk to somebody about this. Like, this is
Everybody I've
something.
mentioned it to so far is
Yeah.
like, how do I get a hold of you to help you do this? And I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
damn, I haven't even gotten that far yet. So
Yeah.
I do want to make sure when you air this, I want
Yeah.
you to give out my information in
Yes.
in triplicate
Oh, yeah.
to people to get a hold of me, because I can steer you to other places. I'm a motivator. I've found, like, in my, because I'm about to get out and start speaking in public, and I've wanted to do that for so long, and not because, hey, look at me, but just because I'm drawn to it. And I feel like what I've come up with in explaining this, a lot of it's kind of a motivational speaking, and that's kind of where I'm ending up, because it's like, yeah, let's build a food forest, but here's the idea of of building a community with different principles, and like, not just let's put some food in the ground. It's like,
Sure.
let's look at our actual principles, and you know, that will evolve into morals. I'm
you
not
know-
even going to try to tell people about their morals, but that will come naturally.
Well, okay. See, that's, you know, the guy we were talking to last night, he had this beautiful answer to a question, but the way that he answered that question, there's so many things that you could truly answer that question like, and that's this too. You know, if you set the proper steps in place with this for the proper education to get to this point, over time, you know, you're going to see, you'll really see that, you know, hopefully in the future, people will look back and be like, well, why weren't we doing this before? Why were people so stupid?
Yeah, what happened? Why did this start as a thing? And what were you
You-
guys doing before?
Yeah, you know what I
Will,
mean?
totally.
Like
Be like,
that,
because it'll be so ubiquitous at that point that they'll be like, how did you eat?
yeah.
What
there-
did you eat?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so, you
No
know,
disagreement with you there.
you that's always a crisis. That one of the propagated TV crises that you're always hearing about is food shortage, or let's solve hunger and stuff like that. And like this is a legitimate idea to change the future for hungry stomachs everywhere. Like you wouldn't, if this was everywhere, like slowly building in all kinds of communities and all kinds of places, like 20-30 years from now, if you were hungry, it was your own damn fault.
Yep.
Like it. And but again,
and you wouldn't be hungry because your neighbors wouldn't let you go hungry.
That's right.
Which again is the point of this. It's not just food. It's like, I'm taking care of my neighbors too. It's like, and what do you need, neighbor? Like, let us help you. You're failing for some reason and no one else around here is. So you need some sort of, maybe it's mental help, maybe it's physical help, but this dude needs help, and the whole community would not like jump on him, but they would all help him. And it's like, this dude wouldn't be down for very long.
That's right.
And then that's right. Wow, that's community. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, well, now what do you do? Well, now you go out and you help others. You spread. It does, like you said, it heals. We heal.
That's something I can't, encourage enough. Is actually stop and talk to your neighbor about the weather. When you run across them, like people, you'll find out that everybody's not as scared of each other as the TV tells you to be.
Yeah.
It's still pretty common practice in the South, especially the deep South like this, that somebody comes down your dirt road, you're throwing a hand up, you're throwing a wave, because
I wave at everybody all the time. I'm in the South, man. As I do is when I'm in Rome. You know what I'm saying? When in Rome. Yeah. I'm so happy and friendly, and I love being that way because that's like my natural state. I hate being in like Austin, Texas, where it's like, dude, if you wave at the wrong person, they might pull over and want like, what, dude?
Southern, like true Southern hospitality over here in the Southeast is a true thing.
It is,
and it's from the people that are from here or been here a long time. Your transplants are the ones that are going to look at you weird and be like, well, why is this guy waving? But everybody else, they throw that hand up to you too. You can be standing at the gas station and you're going to have a whole conversation about somebody and their family, and you probably won't ever see them again. But like, you totally at least made that person's day. You're working in appliances. I tend to visit a lot of lonely older people, that they're, male and female widows of both, both sides of it. I'm not sure what to call a male widow. Is there a word for it, Luis? He's not listening.
No, I don't know the right word for it.
But I mean, I'm saying, and to spend an extra 10, 15 minutes installing that refrigerator to hold on that conversation with that gentleman or older lady or whatever.
On that, there was, I think in Denmark or in the Netherlands, they created a slow lane.
Yeah.
Where older people can just go and talk to the cashier register for a second. Like, it's intentionally done that way.
I mean,
wow, that's crazy. That's cool.
Yeah, that like these countries are realizing that they're older people. There's a town in the Netherlands that is designed for elderly people with dementia-like symptoms. So they live in this town. They can freely go out. They can freely walk around. All the employees.
That's what we need. That's what we need to be doing with the.
Oh yeah, we need to do that here. Like build whole towns, whole tiny towns,
and
that are for the elderly, that they can live
instead of electing them to be president. We don't need dementia patients up there being president.
Instead of electing them for presidency. Correct.
Hey, isn't that the sign that's floating around in Russia right now for dementia stuff?
Oh, that was so epic.
They're advertising using a picture of Joe Biden for their dementia stuff in Russia or whatever. Like,
that's hilarious.
Spot on. I mean, but it's I don't know. Like I'm always a guy that am looking for solutions, and you have inspired me tonight, sir, that this is something that I definitely want to talk to you some more about on the outside, and would love some more information too, because I too would love to talk to my little podunk town and see what kind of differences we can start making, because this is...
It doesn't take a lot of money. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
It takes people believing in it and then doing it. That's where this is the best idea, because it might take a little money. Yeah, you got to buy some trees. You got to buy... I've almost built half my Food Forest, and I haven't even spent $600 on... I've bought a lot of trees, dude. I've bought a lot of $12 plants. And it's like, see, I'm looking at it, and if I spend $2,000 building this yard, imagine what that's going to be over the cost of 10 years worth of food coming out of this
Yes.
thing. I mean, nothing. It's absolutely not. It pays for itself, maybe not the next day, but in the course of time, what this is going to do. And moreover, my neighbors are seeing me do it. So though they might think I'm crazy because I'm putting corn in my front yard, which I'm not, but they think that when they finally see what's going on over here and go, oh,
Can you give us some pointers, and maybe it'll spread? You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
The neighbor's going to be like, "Hey, can we hook into this and make?"
Yeah, this looks beautiful, dude. Like, man, it's like, yeah, that was the whole point, is to teach by example, because a lot of people won't listen to you, but
Sure.
when they see you do something, and then especially when you're not even talking it up too much. So with my neighbors, I just know my neighbors. It's best for that. I just kind of play it close to the vest, let them watch me do it, let them watch the results, and then just watch them start doing it. That's just how my neighbors kind of are. But that'll happen. And again, though, who I'm really trying to look for is when I get this Food Forest built, I want to get the elementary and the middle school and the high school involved. And I want to start explaining to them, hey, guys, the future is really your guys's. Okay, so what I'm 47, like I've still got time, but like if we can get the kids to understand what we're doing, that way we don't have to like worry, because they know the concept of how to build this now. It's like, and they're going to do it so much better. Because it's like, you remember when the generation of kids, it's probably you guys even, where you handed them the phone and they just knew how to do it. Like, I don't know, like I was the guy that was like, what? And then I'd hand it to a younger kid and he's like this, you know what I mean? So I was like, wow, where does that come from?
I've seen even
I still
children.
struggle.
I'm just working with a machine and I'm just seeing a kid, like sometimes it's very, very young, how they try to interface with the device.
I still peck the computer. What are we talking about,
yeah,
guys?
right. Yeah. And so, but my point is like, there's always the younger generation, when they get into something, they just know how to do it better, because they're still they're that much closer connected.
So
to
imagine
source.
if we do that, just allowing them with gardening. Like, I wish I was taught more about gardening when I was younger.
And
I know some of it,
especially if you're doing something like this in like the center
really,
of town, like.
But the schools could literally just put plots of dirt in certain regions and take them out, put rollers, and like teach them this.
Down here, I don't know about everywhere else, but in
programs in schools that could be taught when they're in elementary school.
In Georgia, most of your schools out here have a minimum of 50. They're on a minimum of like a 50-acre plot. Most of the schools out here.
Wow. I mean, dude, what a great
place to put something like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then get the kids involved. So there's half your labor. I mean, you're going to need some big dudes.
Actually, that's something you guys should focus on. Seeing you could talk to local people at the district. Say, hey, I got a really interesting program for you. Offer them the idea. Say to them, I want to help you with creating this. We already have this part of the community on board. Let's get something done. And many school boards will be like, you're offering an option that's relatively super cheap to implement and everybody's going to love. There is not a parent that's going to say no to their kids learning how to farm. There's not. There's two idiots, but like 2 idiots out of 100.
Apple pies. You make apple pies with the apples you grew. I mean, the whole
kids are going to love it. Yeah, kids are going to love it. Bake with the things you made.
Yeah.
There's so many, routes that you could take with this, and so many things that you could bring back into schools that I think are necessary. Like, I really think you should learn how to can stuff, and preserve your own food and grow your own food, and these are important skills that I am making sure that I instill into my children, and because we're in the homeschool field, but like, these are things that I think that are beneficial across the board. It was a way of life. You spent the spring and summer getting it all together so that in the fall you could get it all harvested and canned up so that during the winter months you had something to eat.
Yep.
That because you didn't have the pleasure of always, having pretty decent weather. Like, I'm pretty much in shorts year round. I'm far enough down, but like it's still, there are places that it does snow and stuff like that, but you shouldn't be discouraged. Like, I actually seen something that would go really well with this, especially in winter type places, the classic underground greenhouse where they dig so far down and everything's like just below the level to where
It stays at a constant temperature.
It stays at a constant temperature, and it's still got the glass dome over it, so you're getting your sunlight and stuff every day, but like you can grow an abundance of things because it's not frozen down that far. And these are again like classic things that our families and stuff did. The grocery store's only been around since like the 40s. Like people had the food out of their house more so than anything before that. That's kind of why there was the one family could survive off of just dad getting up and going to work, because mom and the kids and the buttload of kids, because there used to be lots of kids back then, were hawking it at the farm all day, learning actual valuable lessons. I mean, it's not that we're going backwards. I think that we just
it's a evolutionary cycle loop.
Yeah,
like it's one of those things that does come back around because it's tied to freedom. It really legitimately is tied to freedom. And as enslaved as we are as people on this planet right now, it is coming back our way. And so just natural, like I said, this is just one of those ideas that it's just time is now. So that's why it's like not my idea, it's not Jim Gale's idea, but it's just like he was pushing it so hard and it hit me. I was like, oh, I get it, dude. So I initially just focused on my own yard. And then it just hit me that it's like, no, I can, like what you were saying earlier, it took me a little while to talk myself into it, but it's like, no, I now know enough about this and I know very little, but I know enough that I can go sell the idea. And there's people out there that know 10 times more than me about gardening and soil and all this stuff, but like they don't have the picture. So I'm the picture man. I'm like, hey, look, here's how it's going to look. And here's how here's why, not just put food to have food. We build our future. And then that gets people thinking about, oh, that's real stuff, but it's real easy to get started.
You're I guess in a way you could say you're planting seeds in people's heads. I mean, like it's one of those things though that like I believe in I believe in the idea of you can't kill an idea. You know what I'm saying? Like you sure, you made mention earlier that some people end up dying in a weird car crash or a weird plane crash or stuff like that. But once you start an idea like this, you put an idea like this into the ether, I don't think there's a way to stop it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the more we could get people talking about this idea, I think the more we could bring something like this to fruition, actually, because I can't think of anybody. Like Luis said, maybe there's going to be two people that step up in the crowd and go, hey, this is stupid. But like, you know what? At this point, like, I think
everybody is aware that food security comes with you knowing.
And they would give us control of the food back. Like right now, the food is controlled by the same people that sell you your medicine that's supposed to make you better from the food that they're feeding you. That's not really food. It's just a product that looks like food.
You saw that attempt from the EP, I think it's the FDA that's trying to make it so supplements are drugs.
Substances. They're trying to make them substances. There's even some food on that list too. And this is one of those
things. They're trying to make things like this that's been a vitamin in Japan for decades. They're trying to make this a drug.
Wow.
And this type of stuff is known to be really helpful and really good for you. But they're trying to regulate it to charge more money for it.
The more of us that make it a thing that grows in abundance around us, the harder it is for them to do anything about it. Like, exactly. I mean, and this is again, I believe in taking control of our food back, because I think that has a lot to do with where we are today. Every last one of us, and I mean, in a sense, like either we are now or have been or at some point or whatever, but every last person in the United States is addicted to sugar because they're pouring refined sugar into everything. Like there's just
everything.
like
it's hard to find things that don't
Don't
have.
have
You almost can't. You
And-
almost
and-
literally can't.
and they try to promote, they're like, oh, well, it doesn't have sugar in it, it's got corn syrup. Well, that's just
Right.
as bad. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
that's
saying?
worse.
No, that's
Corn
worse.
syrup has mercury in it, for crying out loud. I mean, dude,
on,
it's like
on top of all of the other, garbage things like canola oil basically just being motor oil that they
Right.
bleach and resell to us. And
Yep.
it everything's in such a fog. And that's why I like to say food like products, because most of the stuff in the box, especially when you start getting close to the 50 ingredient mark, that's how many brain cells it's killing when you're trying to ingest it, is about 50 or so when you eat that box of whatever, red 40 on top of this, that, and the other stacked together. I mean, if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't be eating it, honestly, in a lot of cases. Like,
they just found that the printable meat, you've heard about the printable meat, was coming from people.
probably.
They were showing that it was causing cancer in people like rapidly, and then they figured they showed that they were printing the meat from human product, like they were giving you cannibal meat basically. It's just like
you can buy online there. You can buy a steak made out of the DNA of your favorite celebrity.
I know, it's just outrageous, dude. You can buy a skateboard now with Tony Hawk's blood in the paint. It's like, and that death water. Have you seen the death water?
I've seen the death water.
Wow.
I mean, liquid death is just marketing, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, but the idea that they put a witch in there to cast spells on it and say, do a thing where it's like demons can enter this can, and if you drink the can, then you're letting a demon into your body. I mean, to call it a marketing gig or whatever, but dude, I'm not doing that. Like, it's like Millhouse buying Bart's soul. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Way to breathe, no breath. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be that guy.
And I'm also a fan of natural spring water. Like, people always ask me what's the best water to go for it. I mean, of course, distilled, if you can use it for a lot of things too, is good for you. But like, if you have access to a natural spring, which is another one of those things that down here in the South, like a lot of us have wells, and a lot of us, there's some Appalachian Trail areas in different parts of the state or whatever that you could literally pull up to and get straight from the spring, and people have for hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Like, that's just it's a common thing still, like down here, like that
through a stone filter.
Yeah, it's through a natural filter.
Oh, right, yeah.
No, I mean, still, when you're getting it from a river or something, like, still pass.
I mean, inside, if it's coming out of a spring from under the ground, it's coming out of a spring from under the ground.
Yeah, I filter all my water through a Pro One filter, gravity fed filter.
You just got to be careful with a lot of those filters, because sometimes you'll get rid of things that are good for you.
Yeah, they definitely don't get rid of the minerals. It's a gravity fed filter that leaves 95% of the minerals.
That's what I mean. Or the stone type. So my grandmother used to have one of those old stone style filters. That I wish I had one of those.
It's heavily important.
My grandmother used to boil all the water and then pass it through. This is until recently, until she passed. Basically, filter the water and then pass it through the stone filter.
Yeah, but stuff like glyphosate and fluoride and stuff like that.
You cannot filter it
unless you get one of these. Unless you get one of these, which is like, it's like you spend about $300 or $400 once.
Yeah.
There's also Becky's. I've heard really good things about Becky's.
What is it? Berkey?
Berkey, not Becky.
Berkey is the same thing. It's just a different, but same filtration, different company name. But yeah, so Berkey, Alexa Pure, and Pro One are all kind of the same. They're all Rolls Royce, right? They're all just a different version of Rolls Royce, but they're all the best. Like, they will filter out to non-detectable levels glyphosate, chlorine, fluoride, heavy metals. You can put fecal water in there and get drinkable water out the bottom.
Well, I mean, this is also just some, I guess, that maybe it's that Southern lore, or just some of the things I was raised on. If the deer's drinking from it, it's usually a safe spot that you can drink water from. So and that's one of those things that I truly believe in practicing.
50 feet at the deer stand. You see a dead deer.
But see, now there's also the Palestine thing too. Like, my God, dude, like I couldn't even imagine living there. And that's going to affect all of us too eventually, because there's so much food that comes from there There's such an Amish community there that grows so much of the organics, all the little mom and pop organic brands. So many of them are right around there.
True.
And
True.
so I just, as far as not even so much water filtration, that is still the thing, obviously, but like as far as just food in general, like there's another reason we're going to need to start growing our own food, because all of the people that we do, go, oh, I trust them and I'll buy their stuff, and absolutely, and that's what they do, and cool, good relationship. They're not going to be able to anymore. Again, we're going to have to grow our own food.
Oh yeah.
And to me, it's a personal responsibility thing. It's like, of the things
Yes.
on this planet that humans should be responsible truly for themselves for, I believe feeding yourself should be something that, like, your parents should teach you. Look, no one's going to feed you.
Yeah.
You have to feed you. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm going to help you learn, but you feed you. And
Yeah.
then we all feed each other. And then the idea is to be able to do it so that if there's somebody that can't help themselves, we can help them because we have so much extra.
Abundance is what creates community as well. That's
Yep.
something that can happen when everybody works together. That's why I always say there's one thing everybody can learn from the Jewish community is that they have learned to work together to create mutual abundance. And all groups should work to
Yep.
actually create that community so
I
that
agree.
everybody has collective abundance.
100%.
No, and this has been really great and really progressive. And again, I definitely want to learn more. And I have got links to, of course, your Instagram so people can get back and find you there, but as well as your website. And whatever other links you give to me too, I'll make sure that we put them out there. In fact, if you'd like to plug anything before we get close to wrapping up here, I'd love to pull it up for you. Like,
Okay. Yeah, I don't really, honestly, like I'm working with a guy right now who is building me a website for exactly what we're talking about.
yeah,
And that is my current website, my Nothing New Under the Sun website. Oh, I love that. And it's funny because honestly, I'm a flat earther, and look at that big globe sitting there, huh? Isn't that crazy? People call me on that too once in a while. They're like, "Dude, your website's like a big globe," and like, I know you're a flat earther, so what's that about? And it's like, well, so I've got some updates and stuff, but this was my first attempt at, like, literally I'm going to just dive in face first and start getting on the internet and sharing truth, because I had a calling, and I was like, so I took Mark Passio's class on how to become the true media. I learned how to use a computer. His class was very directed at people who want to produce videos and put them on social media for the sake of making podcasts, etc. So I was like, man, so here I am. And then from there, I met Jim Gale in the Food Forrest thing, and I was kind of just sharing truth and talking about that stuff. Didn't really know what I was doing. The Food Forrest thing has given me a very clear definition of what I'm doing, at least in the next chapter of my life, since I've gotten sober and kind of floated for a minute there. Got to take care of my mom, so I'm still doing that, and now I know what my future is. And so that website is coming, and I don't have it yet. So what I would say is to just keep an eye on my Odyssey page. Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, they all get the same treatment as far as where my videos go. And here in the next week to 2 weeks, I'm going to be putting out a video that's going to explain very concisely and very clearly everything that we talked about here as far as my Food Forest freedom idea. I have a T-shirt that I'm going to be selling. It's not so much selling, but it's a donation. So it's like, please make a donation, and then this will I'll send you the T-shirt. I'm wearing it right now, so I'll show it to you real quick.
nice. I would totally encourage folks getting a T-shirt from you, bud. Like, I dig it.
Yeah. And so it's an I am unvaxxed shirt. And I, again, it's not so much to be divisive, but it's to explain to people, like, I hope you realize that, like, what's going on around us, whether it's, but it's really hard to believe that they would try to kill us with vaccines. Okay. And that's what's going on. And so that's why 100% human, because the agenda out there completely, our food, our water, they're spraying us our skies, they're poisoning our soil. It's an anti-human agenda that's going on out there. And so my agenda is 100% human. And that's, to me, that's why the 100% human. And this idea will grow. This is, again, this is just something that I'm riding the wave of. This is happening. People are going to start doing this. The way it makes me feel is by standing on the rooftops and screaming, hey, guys, do this with me. And we can make a community. We can make it better. And then people like the guy you were mentioning earlier with the plastic solution, and
Julian.
all these other people with all these solutions where they can literally not worry about where their next meal is coming from. So now they can stay in their backyard and do their mad scientist stuff and come up with other things for other people to all share. And that's how you do it. That's how we do it.
I mean, yeah, dude, this is it's just putting the ideas out there and getting it into people's heads and just talking about it. Like this is something I have really enjoyed, and
Cool.
Again, like I definitely want to talk to you more about it, and you definitely have somewhere you want to, while you progress, you want to come back and talk about it, man. Like
I'll be happy to.
This door is open over here, man. Like we would love to talk more in with this, and I know Bandit's going to be kicking himself in the butt when he's listening to this episode that he wasn't here for this conversation because you and him would have clicked real well. So.
Cool, and my email too. I'll give you my email, and so it's my name backwards, wright.jonathan.485@gmail. And that's a great way to reach out. Like random people contact me constantly, so don't feel weird if you just say, "Hey, I heard you on this thing, and here, blah blah blah." Please do that because I love hearing from people, even if it was just an inspiration thing, and you're like, "Hey, thanks." It keeps me going. So, but feel free to reach out and contact me for any reason. I'm happy to help with what I can, and I'll steer you in the directions that I think are the best with the stuff I can't. So,
Luis, you got anything for me this evening, buddy?
That the foundations of self-sustaining communities is truly part of the future in a decentralized economies, and everything that creates that. This is fundamentally a humongous part of the future, and you're on the right direction, because this is, no matter what version people can fathom to think about in relation to the future, this is going to be part of everyone's future to a given degree.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. It makes me happy to hear people say that after hearing it for the first time. That means I know it's the right thing. I've not mentioned it to one person that hasn't even gotten to the point of like, well, how can I help you? It's like, well, not yet. I don't have it all lined up yet. So, but it's coming soon. And like I said, really honestly, just take what I'm doing and do it in your own hometown, because I can't do it for you guys there. Well, I need people locally here to help me.
For the future about the open source modeling for documentation, for information frameworks, and because open source, that concept in general, is great because it allows other people to integrate changes into the processes in order to have a consistent evolution of the process. So, we're doing it this way, but somebody 3D printed these new items that could be implemented in order to improve the irrigation systems, so on and so forth. If you create that foundation, then people can keep adding on to it.
Think about this too. You get some artists, find some artists that know how to do some copper work, and then make your electrostatic gardening out of art. So you're making your art spirals copper. I mean, like the whole thing, like the function and the art can all work together. And
I think so, man.
I mean, man, it's just the possibilities are endless.
So we've got a new segment that I've been doing on the show here recently that is just kind of having some fun with our guests, and just for a few good laughs or whatever. And I found a random AI question generator online, and so for each episode, I'd let it generate me a question that I can ask our guests, and of course, the co-hosts are always welcome to answer as well too, just because it's fun to get to know people a little bit more and just show other folks out there that everybody that's here is just regular old normal folks, man. And so tonight's random question that popped up for me is, what is the strangest thing you have ever eaten, Jonathan?
The strangest thing I've ever eaten.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever eaten a bull ball. I know it's been placed in front of me, Rocky Mountain oyster. And I think I can't quite recall. I was like 13. I'm pretty sure I opted out of it. I don't think I was ever convinced into eating it. Man, the strangest thing. That's a hard one, man.
Hey, man,
I never thought I would be stumped on just a random question like that, man. Like, I mean, I don't know. I haven't eaten anything super crazy stuff, man. I can't say like, pufferfish or, okay, here we go.
All right.
You have to kind of be a sushi connoisseur to know this, but if you know, and you mostly will not see this on the menu, and that's how you know you're a sushi connoisseur if you know about this, it's tobiko with quail egg. And it's orange. It's like an orange caviar. So it's like their seaweed wrap, and then it's like this full of this orange caviar, and then a quail egg cracked and on top of it. And it's my uncle gave it to me this one time, and it was just like it's like a delicacy. And he was all proud and telling me like no one knows about this and it's not on the menu. He made a big point to show me that it wasn't on the menu, and then he ordered it, and the guy was like, "Oh," and he brought it to us. And you know, it's kind of like going to In-N-Out Burger. You got to know what you're ordering to get the right stuff. You know, it's not on the menu.
All right. No, that's actually fascinating. I think I've actually heard of that sushi before, but it's very rare to come across somebody that's actually got to try it. So that's actually pretty cool, man.
Yeah, because again, it's just like a secret code, and if you don't know the right, you know, if you don't do the handshake right, you don't get the tobiko with quail egg.
What's that popular one you always see on TikTok? Them talking about the McGangbang, where they're like putting the fish, chicken, and beef all together when they're wolfing that garbage down. Like these are those things you don't see on the menu, of course. Luis, have you ever eaten anything strange, man?
I'm not gonna even say it.
Oh,
No, the what you just said, the McGang, whatever.
The McGangbang, that's funny.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing. Like you can totally.
I'm not
quote me.
disagreeing with you. I'm not sure what I would consider.
I've eaten
that.
turtle out of a shell, like fresh turtle out of his own
Wow,
shell.
that's strange for
Like
sure.
that's pretty strange.
Yeah, was it good?
That. No,
Yes, it was
Really?
delicious.
I've not had that. I've not had turtle out of a shell.
Yeah, so I give a lot of credit to my grandfather. You know, God bless the man wherever he's ended up, and he taught me a lot about living off the land around me. You know, my dad abandoned us when we were a kid, and my grandfather was the only male figure I had, and he taught me about farming and fishing and making sure that you knew how to eat. And you know, turtles are in abundance in the South. People think I'm crazy when I say that, but we are overpopulated in turtles in a lot of our places. And he didn't think he didn't believe in being wasteful. So if we were going to take out a turtle that was eating our fish, we were going to eat that turtle that night too. And
That makes sense.
I'm not going to say that it tastes like chicken because it's not the whole taste like chicken, but like it's a bland meat that you can season to your liking and stuff, I guess. You know, it's just it was good. It was basically turtle soup out of a shell. It was something kind of
I was going to say, did you just cook it in the shell?
basically like
Just turn it upside down, set it on the fire.
and you crack the soft part off of it and basically mix the insides with whatever else you want to mix with it. It used to be a lot more common, and then they started protecting turtles. And I mean, sure, I don't doubt, don't get me wrong, I don't doubt that there was some point in time that, as awful as humans get, they probably almost extinct, some kind of turtle, if they didn't extinct multiple kinds of turtles already.
Currently there are many types of turtles that are endangered because they also don't reproduce fast enough.
But like, come down here and I'll show you snapping turtles by the dozen all day long, left and right. And, they get in there and eat fish and tear up things. And if they get you, they won't let go till the lightning strikes. And, and I mean, they're a nuisance, and we get them big, huge alligator snapping turtles every now and then. And those things are terrifying and can bite your leg in half.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, those things can snap limbs off.
I would rather get rid of it as best as I possibly can if it's posing a threat to me, but again, let's not be wasteful. But if you ever get the opportunity, I think it's one of those things that you should add to your list. I always tell people a top choice if you ever get the opportunity is bear. I know they're in trouble too, but it's a very interesting
Bear?
steak.
I mean, what? There
it's
is
a very interesting steak.
Oh, I'm sure, but isn't there also that rule? I mean, I think if you do eat bear, cook it thoroughly because of that rule of never eat carnivores.
Oh,
they're omnivores, kind of. No, they're carnivores.
They're a little of both. I mean,
but mainly the idea is don't eat carnivores because of the parasites that could carry.
Sure.
So if you do eat them because you have no choice, cook it thoroughly, very well, very, very well.
A bear. Just random fact from me, but a bear, like that's not even actually what that creature was originally called. That's just kind of what we came up with from ancient writings. Like we couldn't. Yeah, Just
Couldn't
What was
really
the
figure it
old
out.
name for bears?
they don't know.
Interesting.
They don't know. Bear is just what they have settled on in this time, like out of the creature and stuff. They can't like decipher it. It's super weird. It's just one of those unknown things. But of course, you guys know that anything and everything that we've talked about tonight, you can usually find links for everything back over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com, including everything you need to get back to Mr. Jonathan Wright here, man. Like I thank you for setting aside some time with us this evening and coming and having this fantastic, inspiring conversation. And I hope it inspires more folks out there to get to looking and doing something like this. And I encourage you guys to reach out to Jonathan here and see if you can learn some more information, and let's spread this idea around, because this is something I'm definitely behind. And you guys know that I can't end the show without everybody's favorite part of the night, to win yourself some sweet Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast stickers. And all you've got to do is, when you go over to this episode on unconstitutionalawakening.com, give me A, B, or C for your multiple choice question, because I'm trying to keep it easy for you guys to just give some stuff away, because I like giving things away. So today's question is, what was Davy Jones' locker? The seabed, a treasure chest, or the captain's loot? You can answer that at unconstitutionalawakening.com so you can get your free stickers, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We're going to weigh anchor and get on out of here. Good night, everyone.